Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. Lately, there's been a lot of news about Nate Parker. He's one of the directors and writers of the up and coming film called Birth of a Nation. It's about the life of Nat Turner. And a couple of months ago, I posted a video about that upcoming movie. I will include a link and the card so that you can check that out. But today I want to talk about Nate Parker because recently some rape allegations have surfaced. Back in 1999, when he was a student at Penn State, Nate Parker and his roommate were charged with raping an unconscious 20-year-old woman. Now, when the case went to trial, Nate Parker was exonerated. And according to the articles that I read, he was exonerated in part because he once had consensual sex with the accuser on the day before or some other time. So, from what I understand, that's part of the reason why he was exonerated. His roommate, who is also a co writer of this film about Nat Turner, his roommate was convicted of rape and he was sentenced. He appealed his conviction, and when the case came up for retrial, the victim did not want to testify. So recently, Nate Parker was asked about this in an interview, and he basically said this. He said that it was a very painful moment in his life. He talked about how he grew up very poor. He said that his father passed away, and he was talking about how there were so many things that happened at that time. He went on to talk about how he's an advocate for justice now, and he's an older man, and he's matured a lot. And he went on to talk about how he has a wife and kids, and he's moved on. That was his response when he was asked about this rape situation. This rape occurred, this alleged rape occurred 17 years ago. And now he's being asked about it. And Fox was asked about their position on the issue, and they said that they stand behind Nate and that they are proud to help bring the important and powerful story to the screen. So that was their response. Also, I read another article about this situation, and it really was disturbing. I mean, some of the allegations. They say that after this rape occurred, for weeks following this incident, Nate Parker and his roommate allegedly harassed the victim, taunted the victim, used sexual epithets against her. And following this rape, she allegedly, the victim, allegedly repeatedly tried to commit suicide. She was so depressed that she tried to commit suicide, and eventually she ended up committing suicide. So it's a very tragic situation. So she's not alive to tell her story to anyone. She's passed away. And, now people are talking about it. They're talking about this issue of rape, and it comes up at an odd time. And I'll go into that a little bit later. But her family was asked to provide a statement about this issue. And they talked about how they appreciate that the men are being held accountable all these years later, but they also said that they are dubious about the underlying motivations behind the story becoming public now, behind this all this attention that this is receiving right now. So they raised that question, and I also raised that question. Um, so there are a couple of other points, and right now there has been a petition posted online to encourage people to boycott this film. The petition is posted by this left-wing black feminist group called What About Our Daughters? That's a blog, one of these feminist blogs. Back in the day, I had some run-ins with that blog. I strongly disagree with their positions on a lot of issues. They're another one of these male bashing, man hating uh, collectives of bitter black women. So they have this petition, and they raised some good points. They raised a couple of good points, and one of the points that they raised is this. They talk about his statement, like when he was asked about this rape. When he responded, he didn't say anything about being innocent. You would think that if someone was wrongfully accused of something and then somebody brings up this wrongful charge and issue years later, it seems like your first reaction would be to say, I was found innocent, I was exonerated, I am innocent, I did not do that. It seems like that would be the natural reaction of an innocent person. But here, this man doesn't proclaim his innocence. He dances all around the issue and he talks about how he's matured now. He doesn't express any kind of remorse or any kind of regret or any of that stuff. So that raises a red flag for anyone that has any kind of intelligence. Also, I was reading about how this woman, this victim, and I just need to go back to the allegations. According to the allegations, she was so intoxicated or out of it that she was unconscious. And while she was unconscious, Nate Parker allegedly raped her, and he encouraged his roommate to have sex with her as well, and he did so. And then a third person says that Nate Parker allegedly encouraged him to participate in sex acts with the victim. So you have all these people involved allegedly. This third person who says that he witnessed some of these acts. So these are very troubling allegations. And these types of allegations deserve a much better response than what Nate Parker gave. At this point, the victim is deceased. Nate Parker has been exonerated, so he won't be retried for this or anything. Since she's deceased, there won't be any trial of the other suspect, his roommate at the time. So from a legal perspective, the matter is over with, but you would think that this man would have a better statement to provide about this. It seems like he would at least proclaim his innocence or proclaim his regrets, but he does none of that. And I can understand why people would be outraged. I can understand why women would be outraged, because this is outrageous. You have these serious allegations, and too often, and I'm going to go into that in a second, but too often, people's natural reaction is to defend men like this. And again, I'm going to go into it a little bit later. But also, it's important to know that the accuser filed a lawsuit against Penn State. And she filed a lawsuit because she says that Penn State did not protect her from the harassment, that she faced following this alleged rape. And eventually, the university reached a settlement with her. So now I'm just going to provide my analysis of the situation, tell you what I think and what I think about the movie and all that kind of stuff. It's important for us to understand, and we all understand this, that a mere acquittal does not mean that that person did not commit the crime. It simply means that a jury was not convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that that person committed the crime. It does not mean that Nate Parker did not rape her. Just like the acquittal of George Zimmerman does not mean that George Zimmerman did not murder Trayvon Martin. And just like the acquittal of those police here in Baltimore didn't mean that they were not um, responsible for the death of Freddie Gray. It simply means that a judge decided that way. So that's important to understand. And we all understand that in the Trayvon Martin case, George Zimmerman, we understand that that man got away with murder. So, I think that it is hypocritical, as many people have said, for us to say, well, he was found innocent by a jury and stuff like that and just leave it at that. It's much deeper than that, and most of us understand this. And as I said before, his ambiguous statement where he expresses no remorse and he doesn't deny the allegations, that raises a lot of red flags and concerns. Now, the issue of timing is a valid point. I mean, this happened 17 years ago, and he's done other films and other projects, and this issue did not come up then. Now that he has a controversial film out about a slave revolt and about the experience of African Americans, now this issue is coming up. And that's suspicious. Why wait until now to raise this issue? It could have been raised a long time ago, and people could have organized around this issue a long time ago. But now they raised this issue. And they also have raised the issue about his wife being a white woman. And I understand why that's an important issue to raise, just logically. And also, I have mixed feelings about it. First of all, when somebody plays a role, they are not literally the person that they're depicting in the movie or whatever. They are taking on a role. So that may not be, obviously it's not who they are in real life. Obviously, they may not share the views of the person that they're portraying in a movie. They may not have the same perspective on life or the same ideology as the character that they're depicting in the film. So there's a clear difference between the individual and the role that they're playing. So for people to attack this person for, not living up to the character that he's playing in a movie, I don't think that that's necessarily the right thing to do, but I understand why people are outraged about that, why people are expressing concern. Because, too often, like all of these, well, not all of them, but a lot of these wealthy entertainers, these black men, these people that have achieved status in society, they view having a white woman as a trophy, as some kind of symbol of success, as some kind of standard of what a beautiful woman is. And it's hard for me to take somebody seriously talking about black issues or talking about, how concerned they are about the plight of African Americans, or pretending to be some kind of militant and all this and that when they have a white wife. I can't really take them seriously. Um, I can't take their politics seriously. I can't take them seriously when they profess to be so uh, committed to their people, when they profess to have pride for their history and for their people, but yet they're married to a white woman. Um, and you see this a lot. I mean, you see a lot of times this happens where these people put on a front, they put on a show, when in reality they're just another self-hating Negro. You know, the other day I was watching some video on YouTube that somebody posted on some channel. I mean, you got this person that's supposed to be so pro-black and so militant and so free to land and all that stuff, power to the people, but yet they have biracial children. So, I mean, I just can't take that kind of person seriously. So I understand why people have expressed concerns about him having a white wife. But again, when it comes to this art form, I guess for me, I'll separate the film from the actor, the body of work from the person as an individual. Now, it'll be a different situation if this person was like leading some kind of movement or they were trying to seem like they were some kind of Black power advocate. In some ways, he is doing that with this film. So again, I see both sides to that issue. And, I think that he should be pressed to provide a more comprehensive statement about this situation. And I think that his PR people are doing him a disservice by not following up and not addressing this issue. The question of timing, I just want to go back to that again. That's very important because this is a very important film. And, it seems like it's probably a deliberate effort to derail this project. As I said before, you have people trying to boycott the film. Um, so, yeah, I mean, that raises suspicions. But we need to avoid this natural impulse that some of us have, this natural impulse that we have to defend Black celebrities, to imagine all kinds of conspiracy theories, to defend the indefensible. Because, I mean, you have all these countless examples where a Black man can brutalize his girlfriend or his wife, and yet you have Black people defending that celebrity simply because he's a celebrity, simply because he's a Black man. You have Black men that are accused of rape, but yet people defend them and they come up with all these ridiculous, unsubstantiated conspiracy theories to justify defending that person. You have Black pedophiles, you know, but yet because these people make good music, some people feel the natural impulse to defend these people. And I just think that that's wrong. I think that it's like disingenuous for people to just invent all these conspiracy theories in order to justify defending another Black celebrity. Now, I'm just going to explain why I am still going to go see this film. Despite my reservations and my concerns about Nate Parker's history, I'm still going to support this film. I make a difference or a distinction between supporting a film and supporting an individual. So by supporting this film, I'm not supporting Nate Parker. I support this film because it's important for the world to see the story of Nat Turner on the big screen. This is an important historical film about our history, about the history of this country, about racism, about slavery. And it's also a film that features a strong Black man and strong Black men standing up to oppression. Often these stories of slavery do not depict African American men as strong. They do not depict African American men as courageous heroes standing up and fighting against oppression. And I think that it's important for us to see this image of a real Black historical story of Black people resisting oppression, especially in this time when we continue to suffer under oppression. So, I think that this is important. It is important to honor and remember our ancestors who fought for us. So, for those reasons, I'm going to still see the film, but I do agree that Nate Parker should be forced to answer questions about this. Even though it was 17 years ago, it is something that's very troubling. It's something that's important. And we have to quit pushing women's issues under a rug or under a rock. We have to quit ignoring the actual plight of women. We can't downplay this thing. When somebody is unconscious, they're not in a position to consent to any kind of sexual relations. So these kind of allegations should be taken seriously. And Nate Parker needs to answer some questions. So those are my thoughts about this issue. So tell me what you think. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. Peace.